Hey, Tripolar Bear, let's talk about the Magic Find Poison Blade Vortex build that I've been playing on stream. I've been using this to farm 100% Delirium T2 tower maps. Now we do T2 tower so that we can play an MF quant build, right? Magic Find and quantity gear on our own, right? So we get to use cool stuff like Goldworm, which gives us 20 quantity. We can do double Venter Gambles, right? This is why we do it on tier 2 100% Delirium. First of all, for this path to building, huge shout out to Fiams, aka Flames. He has been in my chat. He's been running this. He's been having an absolute blast, and he let me know about it. And he even has this crazy note section. He wrote it all down, helping with pricing and whatnot, kind of explaining the rationale between all the choices, how you can get your clusters and whatnot. What to upgrade and stuff like this. Oh my gosh, huge shout out, huge help here, made it so easy. He pretty much just did all of the leg work for the path to building. This is all his work. I'm just Mr. Broadcaster here, just making a video about it. All right, huge shout out to this guy. If you see him in chat, give him a wide peepo happy and say like, yo, thanks if you're using this. All right, huge shout out. All right. And let's show the map off, and then we can talk about the gear really quick. So this is the map. You're going to get a fractured copy of this from the Forbidden Trove, the TFT Discord channel. Now, this is a little bit expensive to get each copy. Fractured fossils are a little bit less than 2 exalts. So I would recommend you go and do the Harbinger farm until you have enough money to buy all of the gear and these Watchstones, right? The Watchstones will run you about 12 exalts for all of them. And the gear is going to be about 6, but you can drop the Inspired Learning, which really just brings it all the way down to like 2 or 3 exalts, depending on how juicy of medium clusters that you get. But this is the map. You just pay someone on the Fracture Service channel on TFT. Let's just get that up quick. Right, so you go to the TFT Discord, you scroll down to the services in the Ritual League, you go to Fracture, and then you can see here, we'll make it just a little bit bigger. Willing to sell softcore fracture service 8C. So you give these people 8, 10 chaos, sometimes 6 if you get a bunch of them at a time, and you get to fracture one of their maps, right? So you're going to look for someone who has a T2 tower with the Harbinger reward. Now, Harbinger is really good, right? Here we go. We have a currency one, right? So you'd want to find one of these that has the Harbinger items because Ancient Orbs are very nice and very good, and they're very steady instead of like getting some exalts sometimes. I found it's nicer to just get a lot of Ancient Orbs, and it feels better. Even though Ancient Orbs are going down a little bit, it's still better in my opinion to do the Harbinger. I felt it was much steadier money. Currency still makes money though. We'll talk about how much I made yesterday. But here are the Watchstones I was using, right? These were about 4 exalts with the Sextant rolled on them, right? So you want to get magic monsters, have a 1% chance to drop additional basic currency. I have rare monsters have a 10, and then I have another magic monsters with another 1%, right? And these I bought with the sextants on them for about 4 exalts each, which is pretty good. And then the last one that we're using for this low level juice is a booming populace, and you just roll the poison sextant on here. Now, this makes it so easy to blast through. Let's show some of the gameplay quickly. Here was me buying that Harbinger Watchstone, or the Harbinger tower map, right? And I was surprised how tanky this was. And where most of the tankiness comes from is going to be the recover instant life, right? You recover 5% of your life every time you kill a poisoned enemy. So I could just sit in here most of the time in a 100% Delirious map. Now, being tier 2 really helps out. But you see here, just flasks up all of the time. I'm just sitting here casting Blade Vortex. I died 1 time yesterday, and that's because I ate like a Volatile Dead and a few Lightning Mirages at the same time, right? All I needed to do was move 2 steps out of the way, and it was fine. So you just run through the map. You're just killing everything. You're keeping your divination up. You know, you're just getting lots of drops. Now, I use a blank filter while I'm leveling, and I will have this linked in my Discord just so that I'm not seeing like all of the loot. And then when I'm done, I turn on my regular loot filter, and then I get to pick up all of the currency at the end. So let's talk about gearing really quick. So this is just a very bare bones kind of magic find, super cheap budget MF quant gear, you know, poison BV build so that you can get going with some magic finding on T200 DELI Tower. We're going to use 2 cold iron points. The corruptions on these, super easy. Power charge on crit you want because we are going to be critting. We're playing a poison blade vortex build. So on assassin, you do want to be critting with your blade vortex, right? Poisons you inflict with crit strikes deal 50 more damage, and you get some base critical strike chance. So we do want some power charges here. So that is a really nice and easy place to get power charges. And then you can get a spell damage corruption. These are like maybe 10 chaos for the corruptions. It's very nice. Mauve Conquest we're going to use to become unaffected by poison, and we will then poison ourselves in conjunction. Let me find this. We'll use the golden rule, so poisons you inflict are reflected back to you, and then we're going to use the sextant here. I know some people do, apparently this triggers people, but this is a super easy way to do budget builds. And since our map does not consume sextants, right? This is how we use such juicy sextants, and you want all of these. I actually swapped this one out, Hunted Traders, recently for the where is it? Unique monsters drop corrupted items. I was getting like 7 6 links per map from this because of the Beyond bosses. So like you have the Nemesis Fractured, right? We have Nemesis Fractured on the map. So every time it gets the copy, every rare monster is a Nemesis monster. Every rare monster drops 3 basic currency items. And then there's lots of Beyond monsters because we also use Beyond on the Watchstone and on the map device. And so every rare monster is a Nemesis monster. When we kill monsters, it spawns more monsters. Those more monsters are Nemesis monsters as well. So that's how we get a ton of currency. And then the Beyond bosses are unique. And so the Beyond bosses drop corrupted items. One of the things that happens when an item corrupts is it has a chance to be a 6-link. If it's like a body or a 2-hand weapon, it can become a 6-link corrupted item. So I was getting, you know, tons of money from this, like 70, 80 chaos per map, just off of these juicy corrupted items, which is really nice. And then we just use a booming populace with the poison sextant on here, because this one is super easy to roll. And that's how we get so much increased damage, and that's how we kind of get away with cheesing a lot of quant gear, which I think is a pretty cool and unique interaction. You also get a lot of movement speed, right? So we'll get 100 poisons on ourselves, we'll get more than 1,000 damage and 600% move speed. And the booming populace, you get 15 uses on it when you buy it. These are like 5 chaos. Now you do want to get a good pack size one, but oh my god, dude, that's so value. 15 uses with 20 increased pack size. That's huge. You get so much more money. Right, and I still have 4 uses here. And then you don't even put a good sextant on here, right? You just do the poison sextant. So it's really easy to roll that on there. All right, but it's a blade vortex build, right? It's the spell that makes a nice little circle around yourself. We're going to put it in our chess piece here, right? If you've never used blade vortex, let's just show it quick in game really quick. So you just put a bunch of spinning blades on yourself, and then you get to run around with this, right? And then you're just going really fast because of the poison sextant and because of assassin. And the instant recovery stops you from dying from assassin, right? So you just get 0.5% of life per poison affecting enemies. You get that back every time you kill something. And we're inflicting a lot of poison, so we're recovering a lot of life all of the time. This is probably the best Magic Find kind of variant on a budget for sure. Now, if you have more money, you can do like crazy juicy stuff, but that gets, you know, very expensive. And then they're just being carried by a headhunter, where we are being carried by 1 sextant. So way cheaper to have 1 sextant than it would be to have a headhunter. But let's talk about the gear, right? The tree is just life, getting the poison stuff, getting some damage over time, more life, and then the clusters, right? Clusters are super cheap, but so we have this Maul Conquest. The body armor for Carcass Jack, I was actually crashing because of the extra gore. So I don't know if that was just a my computer problem or if this is going to be a universal thing. If anything, you can just use a Kintsugi. You can even just use, like, go ahead and use like a +2 duration tabula or something. That is totally fine. Asenath gloves, 30 chaos this league. These are 30C this league. This is wild. You get explosion gloves. This is really cool. Go ahead, pick those up, and that's your explode, you know, chest. The amulet, you just get life and res. 2 Venter Gambles, just get them okay enough. Really, you just need to cap your res. You know, it's not too much of a trouble at all to cap your res with, you know, whatever sneaky ones you get. And you can go down to like 8 quantity or something. You know, you just want to get some quant. Bisco's Leash giving quantity, and Rampage. Rampage is really cool. It's kind of just like kill counter that gives you more damage and move speed the more kills you've gotten recently, I suppose. And then we just use some like 1C flasks, right? Corleatos, your crit strikes don't deal extra damage, but you get a ton of extra poison duration. And then it also gives you perfect agony. So your crit multiplier will also now apply to damage over time for ailments, right? Which is just, going to be poison and whatnot. So that's really, really cool to pick up. Series gives us leech and a little bit of chaos res. That's pretty nice. And then you just want a quartz flask and a basalt flask, right? Lots of fizz reduction from here. You definitely want this with warding on it, and this one with staunching on it. The clusters are super easy. It's literally just overwhelming malice. And then the mediums are just hemorrhage and circling oblivion. I think these were like 20, 30C when I picked them up. Otherwise, you can craft them, but honestly, you should just buy them. They're so cheap and so easy. You can get these small clusters, which is pretty nice. But I found that if you need to cheap out, like if you're super poor, you could just get like kind of bad res here. And then you can just use a resistance jewel in these jewel sockets here. You don't need, the small clusters. But they are nice, right? It is a lot of damage, life, and life regen, right? And you get some AoE on this one as well, which is pretty cool. Again, like you don't need the inspired learning. This is 3x. It's just really nice, right? You get some buffs and whatnot. It's pretty good. But yeah, it's a pretty bare bones tree, pretty bare bones gear, but you get all of the magic finding that you could ever want, right? It's a pretty nice one. I was using this to run the T2 towers, and it was just so easy. I was just absolutely surprised, right? And since it's a lower tier, you could just eat volatile deads and stuff. It was like super, super non-stressful, and you get so much quantity on your gear, so you get so many extra drops. Right, you're just constantly killing stuff. There's beyond monsters that spawn. You see here, this is where I was like lagging because of my carcass jack. Eventually, I just replaced that with something else. But that's really the only problem is if carcass jack, that extra gore effect, for some reason they don't let us turn it off. So you just pretty much don't use it if it's lagging you. It's only 2 exalts to buy it, and then you could just resell it for 2x if it's lagging and crashing you. But I found that was why I was crashing. It was literally just the gore. So just, get rid of the carcass jack. It kind of sucks because it gives a lot of AoE and area damage, life, and all res. But it also gives extra gore, which you can't turn off. So I don't like crashing. Crashing's just a little frustrating, okay? So, just drop it. Pretty much, if you're crashing once, just drop it. Get a tabula with +2 duration to give your BV 2 levels, which is pretty nice. But, this is the money I made yesterday. We ended up spending, we did 11 maps. It was about 2.2-ish exalts per map, right? So 2.2 times 11. So we spent about 24-ish times 100, right? So we spent that much, and this is probably overstating it a little bit just to be on the safe side. And then we made about 1,800, almost like 1,900 chaos, right? So, it was practically like 19 exalts. I'm overstating it like a little bit because the fractures were pretty cheap and, it was a little bit of a fee and whatnot. We use pretty simple scarabs, which I should talk about really quick. All right, we have the sextants, the watchstones, the map. Now we need scarabs. Okay, I was using polished harbingers, which are about 4-6 chaos each, which is pretty nice. If you want, you could do rusted. These are like 2, right? You lose 1 harbinger. Honestly, I don't know if a harbinger is going to give you that much. You could just use one of these, and that would be fine as well, right? They're 2C each. Polished breach, super, super cheap. They're like 1C each. These are super nice. You just get 2 breaches. We were using a rusted legion, which are like 4C each in bulk. And then we were also using polished divinations. We were fiending for some of those nurse cards, which are about 2C each, right? So all in all, like pretty cheap scarabs. If you want, you can always take this up another level. I'll be doing that today on stream, using super juicy scarabs and whatnot. But I was doing a more moderate kind of magic find. And then you just use Beyond on the map device, and then Elva missions, because we want Elva. Elva is so good for juice. So good. And you see there I had a wretched trade, right? I was just seeing if I could sell wretched cards for 2C each, and you can, right? So this is pretty accurate. People are gambling. I'm sure there's a lot of people that just want to buy a bunch of wretcheds. But you can see that most of our money came from exalted orbs, which is pretty cool. We got about 1 raw X drop per map. Now, does that mean every single map you run, you get an exalt? No. But it means on average, you'll probably even out to somewhere around 1 exalt per map, when you're running enough of these, it was pretty cool, right? Getting exalts feels pretty nice. And you get so many more because of all of the quantity gear that we are wearing, especially, oh yeah, really important. In Glennock Cairns, you want to take the Beyond nodes, right? So we get extra Beyond, we get extra XP, but it doesn't really matter in a T2. And then, you know, you just take the Beyond things, right? Many more monsters. You don't have to know how this works. Just know that it gives a lot of monsters, and that's pretty cool. Also, incursion monsters are at least magic. This is really, really good. Magic monsters drop way better stuff, and we have magic monsters have a 1% chance to drop additional basic currency. So tons and tons of extra currency from our incursions. And then you can do the strong box thing if you'd like. You can do this if you want to try your hand at getting extra upgrades on your temple. But I just got an extra strong box. And then they're corrupted, they're rare, and then I have a chance to open them a second time, which is pretty cool. Otherwise, you could do, you know, a 10% chance for a Legion. You know, it's up to you. Really, you just need Beyond and Elva. Everything else, you know, doesn't really matter too much. But Beyond and Elva, so busted, especially with these Watchstones. But you can see, right, Exalts, the second moneymaker was Ancient Orbs. We're getting about 3+ Ancient Orbs per map, which are about 19 each. If you sell these in bulk, I've been seeing everybody saying, oh my god, Ancients are crashing. But if we just go over here and we price check, let's say, you know, you get 40 of them, right? 40 of the Ancient Orbs. It's almost, you know, 10 Exalts, right? 45 would be 10. If we just do 40, right? It's 9 to 40, which is pretty good, right? So you get an extra Exalt off of your 40 Ancient Orbs when you sell in bulk, right? And you should be selling in bulk. It's really, really good. You get more money. So they're a little bit more than 20C each, but that's totally fine. We picked up 500 Chaos. So this is why we do the Nemesis monsters drop basic currency, the rare monsters and the magic monsters on the Watchstones, you know, the Sextants, the Beyond, everything, right? 500 Chaos from 11 maps. We were averaging about 180C profit per each of these maps when we calculated it last night. I just forget, you know, the real price or whatever. But it was 100C per map, 180C per map, about 1.8x, and you can run, you know, 3 of these in an hour, super easy, as long as you're a little fast, and we are a little bit fast with that 600 move speed from the Poison Sextant. So you get tons of Chaos, tons of Alteration Orbs, 1,300, right? We made almost 5, we made 5 Exalts in Alteration Orbs. We got 3 nurses, and I think this is pretty low. We got 3 nurses in all of the maps that we ran. I think this is a little bit low, maybe a little bit unlucky, but this is still pretty nice, right? 330 Chaos from that, pretty good. 38 Divines. I started using the unique monsters halfway through, so I would probably get a lot more Divines. If you were using the unique monsters, drop corrupted items, you'd get many more. These sell for probably 9 in bulk, a little bit more. Now, the Simulacrums are super cheap. I'm kind of thinking that I want to take the Simulacrum Splinters off just because it's so much clicking. But then again, it's like 5 clicks for 1 Chaos. And at that point, I feel like maybe I take off a couple things as well. But that's not bad. That's not bad. And then we get down to here, you know, 50C from Exalt Shards, 40 from 100 Simple Sextants. You know, we get to little stuff here. We have some stacked decks, random beachheads. I turned these to 1C because it thought they were all red or something like that. So, you know, these are actually like 4C each instead of 1, but that's totally fine. And then, you know, just random drop, right? Nothing too baloney here. The only baloney is like maybe a foreboding and then maybe like a weird div card. So the vast majority is just raw currency that you can just list for sale while you're running the map. And if somebody whispers you, you can leave. The portals on these maps are not too important. Unless you're doing the huge juice where you're using like crazy fossils like I'll be doing today, where you need so many portals for your 6 links and whatnot. I found I only needed maybe 2 portals to loot everything. Like maybe 2 portals to loot everything, which was really nice. So I was able to just list items and I could leave, trade, and then go back in there. And what's especially nice with this compared to the self cursor, now obviously I've upgraded a little bit here, But what's nice with this is it's just tanky, even without any inspired learning or any buffs, right? You don't need Headhunter, you don't need any of that. You're just really tanky because of the instant recovery on your poisons and whatnot. It's super, super nice. So I think this is a super comfortable magic find build. I really recommend this if you were looking to get into magic finding T200 DELI Towers. You can get a little bit more life on the tree. I took this down to a level 90 tree. You can come through Ranger a little bit. Honestly, you can even drop like this damage. If you want, you can drop this elusive effect, right? So you get a few more points to work with, and then you could just pick up some life wherever you can. You can get a little bit more here if you're uncomfortable. But man, I found I was just surprisingly tanky, right? It's pretty easy to hit 4,500, especially if you get some decent life rolls on your Venter Gambles and whatnot. But, this is so easy, and it's so cheap to run this. If you do Harbingers a few hours, you should have enough money to at least get this started. I would recommend having at least like 5 tower copies to get going, just so you don't get unlucky. Just please make sure that you're using, first of all, EXILENCE next. This will be linked in the description. You have to use this, right? You can't, you guys, you cannot vibe check how much this quad tab is worth, right? Can any of you just tell me, just add it up really quick. Hey, how much is this quad tab worth, right? You can't tell me how much you've made from T2 towers unless you're using EXILENCE next, right? Just let the computer do it for you. I've had people say, oh, I feel like I'm not making money. I only get like 1 raw Exalt drop per map. And it's like, yeah, me too. But I'm almost making 2 Exalts profit every map because I'm counting the Ancient Orbs, the Chaos, the Ults, the Divine, Simulacrum, Scours, Regrets, Vols, Chisels, like everything. You have to count it all up, right? You can't just go Control F, Exalts, and say, oh man, I only got 11 Exalts for my maps, but it costs 2 Exalts each. Like, come on, man. Like, you gotta count everything else. Use the program, all right? Let the computer do the counting, right? You absolutely need the Nemesis monsters and the Beyond. I can't overstate this enough. If you're not running the Nemesis monsters, you are trolling. This is where almost all of the money comes from, is having every single rare monster drop 3 currency. This is where the Exalts, the Ults, the Chaos, everything comes from this sextant. You need this. You want extra Beyond. And then again, you don't really need the hunted traders. I found that I like to have the extra 6 links a lot more. So I will be updating that in the Imgur album. I'll remove that one and we'll put this one in there. Anyways, I hope this helps out. It was super fun and it was actually surprisingly cheap and good to run. It's a little bit more money per hour, a lot more clicking and a little more investment. But hey, if you want to make some more money and kind of have some chill magic find vibes, this is a great place to start. And then you can eventually upgrade to different stuff. If you want to see what I'm upgrading to, come join the stream today. I'll be upgrading and juicing my magic find gear up just a little bit today. All right. Anyways, I'll see you guys there. Bye.